Welcome back to the Pain Game, and I have literally just got back from Saudi Arabia. I put the computer on immediately because we need to talk about this. I have not known a boxing decision cause this much drama in quite some time as Beterbiev beat Dmitry Bivol by majority decision to become the undisputed light heavyweight champion of the world. The first time this has happened in 25 years, an undisputed champ at light heavyweight. But unfortunately, instead of us celebrating the greatness of this man, we're questioning, should he actually be the champion? Before I get into the fight, I just want to quickly say, what an event. Riyadh season, it's the best thing that ever happened to boxing in my opinion. And I want to shout out the people of Saudi Arabia because they are so kind, they're so welcoming, and I've just had a great time there. I mean, I didn't know I had fans in Saudi Arabia, but like I had people come up to me at the event. It was unbelievable. It was so nice. And it's just a shame that both fighters put on spectacular performances, and instead of us fans marveling at just amazing performances from both men, all I'm hearing about is the fucking judges. So let's have it right. Both men gave each other, without doubt, their hardest fight to date. And for me, this fight is what elite boxing is all about. A tactical, violent chess match between two grandmasters of the game. You had Beterbiev applying pressure on the front foot, cutting the angles off, forcing Bivol to pull every trick out of the book, making him work his absolute hardest. But look, Bivol is a ninja. No one is better on the back foot than him, and he was interrupting and disrupting the rhythm of Beterbiev to stop him from completely taking over. Bivol probably landing the more technically perfect shots, Beterbiev just scrapping as he does, just throwing and landing anything he could. Not that there wasn't method behind what Beterbiev was doing, I'm just giving credit to Bivol. He's a classy operator. And when a monster like Beterbiev is chasing you down, we've never seen anyone cope as well as he did. I mean, the fact that he's the only one not to get knocked out shows how amazing Bivol is. But equally, no one's ever made Bivol struggle like that at times, the way Beterbiev did. It was the best of both men. Even at 39 years old from Beterbiev, he performed unbelievably. I mean, to throw hundreds more punches, Beterbiev, than the younger man is insane. And yes, not all of them were like clubbing, thudding punches. Some of them were just rangefinders. Some of them were just to get him reacting to set up the other shots. But it was fucking amazing to watch. And in terms of scoring this fight, I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What is it that you look for in a fight that impresses you more? And I think for that reason, you could make an argument for either, depending on what you appreciate more. I don't think Bivol can complain it was a robbery at all. But, you know, he could say, I think I won it. But to say the word robbery, when one guy is willing to throw that many more punches than you, it's because he is willing to risk it. He's willing to go for it. And he's actually not frightened of what's coming back. And if you're not throwing as much as him, it's because you're reluctant to commit because you are going to get punished for that a lot of the time. And if you're backing up constantly because the other guy's punches are having more of an impact than what yours are able to have on him, then, you know, in the eye of the judges, that just doesn't look good. That doesn't mean Bivol didn't outland Beterbiev. I can see an argument for that, but I can totally understand how Beterbiev got the nod here. I really struggle to understand how people are some people are really like, I don't believe this, I can't understand this. And I'm like, well, how not? You know, it was an incredibly close fight in terms of punches landed, and one guy was clearly working a lot harder to take the fight to the other guy, and one guy was trying to nick rounds. You could tell there was a very different style of tactic from both fighters. Beterbiev was trying to win the entire round, and Bivol was trying to fight more in clusters, in my opinion. And you can still win rounds that way, but it's just easier for the judges to go, well, he's the more pressing the action, so therefore I'm going to give it to him. And that I know it's more technical than that, and I know they should have a better eye than that, but you only get 3 minutes each round to see every single shot, and some of these look like they land, some of them don't really land, and it was fucking difficult for the judges, to be fair to them. I think this is a hard fight to score, and I think people are being a little bit harsh in that sense. All right, one of the judges did have it too wide, and I said that on the night. I heard Eddie Hearn, and he was really pissed, and he was saying it was a robbery, and he was disgusted. And I look, I understand emotions on the night. Your guy, you really wanted to win, but one of the cases he cited was, well, his coaches said he needed a knockout, so therefore, of course, he wasn't winning. And I get the argument, but like, let's be real. Is everything coaches say to their fighter in the corner always true, is it? Is that always fact? Was the two different fights that Anthony Joshua had with Alexander Usyk, where two different coaches both convinced Anthony Joshua, you're winning this fight, were they right, were they? Or were they telling him it for a reason, to help him with his confidence, to help him? You know, telling Beterbiev, you need a knockout, when the thing that Beterbiev is really fucking good at is knocking people out. It may just be that they're trying to whip the horse over the finish line. Do you know what I mean? Not necessarily that they think he's really losing the fight. And by that logic, like, a coach has never lied in the corner before. I mean, it's, come on. Emotions get the better of people, but I just think to use that as the reason, I just don't think it stacks up. Coaches try to motivate their fighters in many, many ways. And sometimes they lie. Sometimes they talk about their family. Sometimes they do all sorts of shit. So I'm going to tell you, after rewatching the fight on the plane over, and sometimes I'd have to watch a round over again and again and again. That's how hard this was. And these judges got one go at it. But I went rounds 1 and 2 to Bivol, rounds 3 and 4 to Beterbiev. That for me was quite easy to score those rounds. That was the ones I was quite certain on. And I know for a fact people are going to massively disagree with me because I know some people had the first 4 rounds for Bivol, but that's just how it come across to me. Round 5, I think I watched it about 4 fucking times and I found it really hard to score. Maybe even, maybe you could give it to Bivol. I've got no problem with anyone giving it to Bivol. It was so hard to score. Round 6 was another tough one that could have gone either way. I thought Bivol and Beterbiev both landed some quality shots, but I felt like Beterbiev was more of the aggressor. He was the ring general in there. He threw double the punches, and I was definitely leaning towards him on that one. So I could argue 3-3 on my scorecard at this point. I can already hear people saying I don't know shit about boxing, but I've really tried, yeah. I'm not just trying to wind people up. This is my honest opinion, and it's not about biased because I admire both of these boxers. Round 7, I definitely thought Bivol landed the more quality shots, but Beterbiev, in throwing less shots, hurt Bivol more than he was hurt himself. However, I'd give it to Bivol based on the volume and the accuracy of his punches. Round 8, I think Beterbiev was the better fighter throughout the round. However, Bivol did finish strong in the last 10 seconds. Very clever from him. You can see the amateur pedigree kicking in, trying to steal the round. For me, it was too little too late. Beterbiev won that round, so I'd go 4-4 after round 8. Round 9 was Bivol's best round of the fight, in my opinion. He looked phenomenal in that round. He really took the fight to Beterbiev, and that was where we're like, emotionally, you're all over the place because it's swinging like a fucking pendulum. But despite all of the punches he landed, and even the power that looked like there was in them, he still couldn't really put a dent in Beterbiev. I think it must have been quite demoralizing to not... I think he was really trying to steal the fight away from him at that point, and going into the corner after that round, he must have thought, fuck me, what do I need to hit this guy with a fucking hammer? But let's say I had him 5-4 up at that point. In round 10, Bivol had a really good 30-second spell within the 3 minutes that he looked more potent, more high quality, but he couldn't sustain it. And for the other 2 minutes and 30, Beterbiev was outlanding him, in my opinion, and it might not have looked as flashy and as good as that 30-second cluster that Bivol had, but I had to give the round to Beterbiev. And in round 11, it was the most dominant round of the entire fight. Between the two fighters, Beterbiev was piling on the pressure of Bivol. I mean, my mate on the stream, Travis, even said, Bivol took that round off. Like, it literally was one-way traffic, and that was the most lasting impression I got of that fight, the most dominant moment of the fight. And in round 12, Bivol did look a little bit better than he did in round 11. He wasn't just drowning the way he was in round 11. He did rally back a little bit, but Beterbiev, the better work again, the more aggressive, the landing the more shots. So I would have edged it to Beterbiev by 1 or 2 rounds, in my opinion. Look, even if you call it a draw, I'm not going to argue because there were so many swing rounds. And again, it does depend on what you go for. But that aggression, the work rate, the fact that he was willing to throw that many more punches and push him back, and Bivol wasn't willing to stop him from doing that. He only has himself to blame. Blaming the judges when you've been going backwards for 12 rounds and the other guy's throwing double the punches you are. Look, mate, come on. Those final 2 rounds, you've seen who had taken over the fight. And look, again, I don't mind anyone who thought Bivol won because beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. I like pressure, I like aggression, and I really thought Beterbiev was doing everything he could to win that fight. And I don't think Bivol was willing to risk it in the way Beterbiev was, and I think that that's why Beterbiev came away with the belt. There's this great photograph after the fight of Turki Al-Sheikh, who I think thought Bivol won the fight. So again, many people are split on this, but we look at Bivol's left hand from taking all of those shots on the gloves. You know, people say, oh, it didn't land, it didn't land. I mean, he's punching through that glove into that hand, and he's busted that hand right up. That's not from throwing the hand. That's from what he's been taking on it. And I've got to give him credit, by the way, because keeping that up and taking that damage on the hand, his defense was superb. But I just want to see more from his attack. If they do a rematch, he's going to have to do more. You can't let a man who's out of his prime, when you're in his prime, outwork you like that and drown you in the championship rounds. And one of my favorite things about Bivol was how he handled the defeat, right? It was close. He had a right to be upset. He had a right to be frustrated. This is a lifetime of work. As Eddie Hearn said, he's put everything into this. To not come away with the result, it must be disheartening. But he handled it with class and dignity. That's how you get people's respect. And these both dudes are very classy and old school fighters. It's a throwback fight, this. And it was one of my favorite fights of the year, man. It was a real battle to the bitter end. Now let's have a quick listen to what Eddie said about it, because he was not happy about it.
113.
Bullshit. He's actually shouting bullshit in the ring. You know what? Eddie's passionate, and that's what we love about Eddie Hearn, right? The guy brings passion to boxing, right? And I do appreciate that about him. I do think he could have been a little bit more respectful of Beterbiev there. Beterbiev had put on an absolute hell of a performance, and just to be shouting bullshit like that, it's not ideal. You know, the guy's within earshot. He's given everything he's got. Bivol didn't drop him. It wasn't like it was like, you know, one-sided and we've just robbed him. The way he's behaving, it's not fair in my opinion. And I say this with respect, right? I love Eddie, right? I've met him many, many times. I really like this guy. But I don't think that was the right way to go. Do you know what I mean? We'll all get in the heat of the moment. Me more than anyone can fucking understand that.
I find it sickening that after a lifetime of hard work, Dmitry Bivol is not undisputed champion tonight. He won that fight. I struggled to find anybody on our road, a row behind, on the TV rows, who didn't score the fight to Dmitry Bivol. To find a judge give that fight 116, 112 and give Dmitry Bivol 4 rounds in that fight, this judge should never work in the sport again.
I can accept that he's got a problem with the scorecards being that wide. I think that's absolutely fair.
It was an absolute boxing masterclass. It was the perfect performance. And you know what? He can be better. But that was just a pure show of concentration and skill and defense with offense thrown in. And Dmitry Bivol, for me, arguably pound for pound #1 in the sport. And he deserves tonight to sit here as undisputed light heavyweight champion of the world.
I've got to respect Eddie for backing his man, right? Who the fuck can blame him, right? I would do the same thing. But the level of frustration, I think, is just a little too much, because when you look at the punch stats, I mean, it's 137 to 142. Obviously, Bivol slightly outlanded Beterbiev there in throwing like 250 punches less or whatever it was. But the jabs were more for Bivol, the power punches were more for Beterbiev. It was incredibly close. So, again, I don't have any problem with anyone picking either fighter here, but robbery or, you know, sickening, words like that, I just don't think they're quite accurate. And I think Eddie's emotions in that moment, because he loves this guy, because he wants him to achieve what he believes he can achieve, just a little too much for the moment. But again, who the fuck am I to talk? I tell you who was fucking happy though, Bivol's ex-wife. Bloody hell, I've not seen nothing like this before in the fight game, mate. Fuck me, look at her.
Артур, да! Потому что карма настигла Бивола. Иди к своей мормале. Вот мое истинное лицо. Мы идем в ресторан, на наш счет.
Мой проиграл.
Блядь, ты нас кинул. Вот, блин, карма, херова. О, Багдасарян. Боже, господи, спасибо. Артур, я тебя поздравляю!
She said, dinner's on me. Dinner's on me. Oh, God. This woman is so full of anger and hate, man.
Ну что, ребята? Ну что? Карма настигла своего засранца. Артур, я рада за тебя. Вперед. Теперь мое дело в суде.
I think Artur Beterbiev might want to get a restraining order out of this one, because she is way too happy. This is just mental. And look, I don't know what the fuck went on behind closed doors, right? But it's giving crazy. We've never seen anything like this before. And she's celebrating on a fucking live stream. Like, have a bit of, like, it's the father of your children. If you're acting without class this much now, I've got to assume that this is in your makeup, because this is how you are. She's probably great in bed, but fucking hell, lad. It does seem like Bivol probably made the right call here. Unlike the judges, apparently. But look, let me know what you thought of the judges' decision in the comments below, how you scored the fight, because I'm open to being wrong. Maybe I am wrong. But let's talk about Chris Eubank Jr., because he did what he was supposed to do against Sharameta, right? I said he was the more well-rounded fighter. He'd be too much for him. And that's exactly how it played out. I did think Chris showed a little bit of sign that he was getting a little bit older. There were opportunities for Sharameta to capitalize, to counter-attack, but he just offered nothing and no resistance. And I do worry, is this the best setup fight before you go into a Conor Benn fight? He was going to bring everything and the kitchen sink. You know, you kind of want a happy medium between where Sharameta was and Conor Benn is. That was a bit of a walkover. And it was partly a walkover because Chris Eubank performed really well, but it was also because Sharameta was just in there accepting it. He could have done more. So then we get a clip from Chris Eubank Jr. being congratulated by the man of the moment, Turki Al Sheikh, and he's offering Chris Eubank Jr. some potential future opponents.
If Canelo in his mind, or
Canelo,
Shiraz, or whatever,
Shiraz, Crawford,
whatever. McGregor is ready.
Oh no, oh no. It just says all the wrong things when you're talking about being hungry and you're getting hit with elite level fighter names, Crawford, Canelo, Hamza, Shiraz, and you come back with a guy like Conor McGregor, mate. Fuck off. Look at that face Chris Eubank's pulling. It's giving, I want the most amount of money for the easiest fight possible and I don't give a fuck about a world title. That's what that says. And if that's the case, then just be honest about it, bro. But honestly, that's not what Riyadh Season's about, in my opinion. Like, Riyadh Season's about the best fighting the best. Tough competition. And if Chris Eubank Jr. gets away with that sort of shit, I'll be surprised. Conor McGregor. In the words of Frank Warren, do me a favour. And I am going to come on to Ben Whittaker, but I just have to quickly give a shout out to Fabio Wardley, who absolutely stunned the entire arena when he planted Fraser Clark into the corner like that. I mean, that was a thunderous punch. It was one of the most shocking knockouts in the way that the injury was so devastating and the jaw was disconnected and there was he punched, we use this phrase, punched a hole in him. No, literally, there's an indentation in his fucking skull, mate. Fabio Wardley is a fantastic fighter to watch. He's got the dog in him. He's a beast of an athlete. Power, speed. You're guaranteed fireworks with this guy. Line him up every few months. Bring him back regardless, because this kid delivers. He gives the fans what they want. Now, one person you could say didn't deliver was Ben Whittaker. And I feel bad for the guy, right? Because this was a huge opportunity, the biggest moment of his career by a mile, and all of the pressure was on him. And it just did not go to plan in any way, shape or form. And look, I'll get on to what went on over the ropes and all of that, but he actually was, in my opinion, I had him up on the scorecards at the time of him and Liam Cameron going over the ropes. I thought he was winning. And I'm not saying he wasn't going to win the fight, but the fight wasn't the fight that he would have wanted. He wanted to steal the show. That wasn't happening in the slightest. As that fight was going on, it was getting harder and harder and harder. And, you know, maybe he would have won the fight, but it didn't look good. And in terms of them going over the top ropes, it's really hard for me to say who was the one in the wrong, who pulled who pushed who, because them ropes were so slack. They should have been fucking tightened up. That was a disaster. From a production standpoint, that should never ever happen again. That was abysmal. It took nothing for them to go over those ropes. They're not like big, massive heavyweights. That should never happen. And in terms of the injury to Ben, I have heard nothing and seen nothing aside from Ben leaving the ring in a wheelchair. And, you know, he looked like he was holding his knee, but it's been radio silence from Ben since the fight. And as I'm recording this, maybe by the time this comes out, it might change. But if your big opportunity has been blown like this, usually a fighter would be shouting from the rooftops, I wanted to continue, I would have continued if it wasn't for the fact of this injury, whatever that is. He has the scan or whatever. And because people are massively criticising him and people are saying, well, he quit and all of this sort of stuff, and he's not saying anything, you know, people are just going to run with it. Now, I don't want to say that because I have a lot of respect for the lad, and you don't win an Olympic silver medal by being a pussy, right? The guy clearly has some metal about him, has talent about him, and I don't know what's gone on. I want to give him the fair chance to explain what went wrong and all of that. But yes, it didn't look good, and what I definitely can comment on is how he looked and his game plan. And both of them, by comparison to his previous performances, were not up to scratch. And it's ironic because before the fight, Ben Whittaker was saying that Liam Cameron was changing who he was because he was calling himself the Sheffield Beterbiev or whatever, which was quite funny in my opinion. And he was saying, you know, you should just be yourself. That's exactly what Ben Whittaker didn't do. I think he forgot who he was in that fight because the way he fought on the front foot, trying to chase the knockout, trying to be like this thunderous hard puncher and get this guy out of there in super quick time. He didn't fight in his normal style. There was no showboating. And that's what we really want from Ben now. He should just focus on his strengths. Power punches are clearly not his strengths. He was putting everything into those and they weren't having enough of an impact for me to go, yeah, that's the way to go. And he was just tiring himself out and he looked pretty knackered as the rounds were going on, and it was worrying. And ironically, he was fighting to Cameron's strengths. He was fighting Cameron's kind of fight. He needs in future to fight to his strengths. You're a really good defensive fighter with very quick footwork, very good head movement. You might not be the hardest puncher ever, but you're quick and you can get points and you can win points by tagging them, making them miss, and tagging them again, and actually walk them onto shots, and actually maybe give yourself an advantage in the power department by, if you're not the most naturally gifted, walk them on and make it hurt more. He should look at what Floyd Mayweather did, in my opinion, not pretty boy Floyd, Money Mayweather Floyd, right? Invite them onto you, make them chase you, use that quick footwork, use that head movement, use the fast hands, and just tag them and rack up points, rack up rounds, and make them get desperate, make them chase you, and then walk them onto shots. He's got the charisma, he's got the look. Hide the fucking diamonds on, get the fucking Gucci on, and just play up to the character, because he can be a massively entertaining character. I don't know if he can go to the heights of a world champion. I have no idea. We really need to see this rematch. But the strategy needs to be completely different, in my opinion. He doesn't need the diamonds and the Gucci. I just thought that'd be cool. I also have to mention Jai Opataya versus Jack Massey, which was just a fucking demolition job, right? That was a total mismatch. Jack Massey, bless him, didn't belong in there with him at all. And I don't think at any point in that fight he felt like he did. It was a total fucking mismatch. Credit to Jai Opataya. The guy's world class. I love watching him fight. And he just did exactly what he was supposed to do. Destroy the fucker. One highlight of the night, which, you know, has become tradition with Riyadh season, was the music event. I know some people at home watching aren't going to be as much of a fan, but I've got to say, in the arena, it was fucking insane. Fireworks, fucking fire behind us, Missy Elliott, Busta Rhymes, Sierra. It was brilliant. It really knocked the shit out of the Wembley performance. I mean, it was another level. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever been around. And I'm just on my live stream going, how the fuck did me recording on my iPhone on the ironing board end up in Saudi Arabia with fucking fireworks going off? It was amazing, man. And the whole event was amazing. I absolutely loved being a part of it. And look, we're just so fucking lucky that we keep getting these amazing cards, and they're keeping on coming, right? We've got rumours of another 5v5, Eddie versus Frank. Obviously, we've got Usyk Fury, AJ Dubois 2, Conor Ben versus Eubank. I mean, the list goes on. It's never been a better time to be a boxing fan. So before I go, don't forget to let me know what you thought of all of the fights, all of your opinions. I love soaking them in and having a bit of a read of them with a cup of tea. So I appreciate all of you lot who engage with this channel. And also, if you haven't already, check out the Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois video I uploaded earlier yesterday on the channel. We put a lot of work into that, and I really wanted to give you guys something a little special from the heart, from the team here. I appreciate everyone who supports this channel. We couldn't do it without you lot. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe to the Pain Game YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.